All right, guys. Yeah, so as you've probably seen from the announcement, I'll be finishing up with Value Heavy basically today onwards. Decided that I'd record a final video for you guys to upload onto YouTube. Just threw some money on stars. Going to play two tables of 10 and L. Um, yeah, I mean, probably going to do this maybe 45 minutes to an hour this time. Try and get in as much action as I can on these two tables. Um, Yeah, and just see how it goes. Just see how it goes. Just again, want to just touch or briefly say just thanks to everyone I coached in the meantime. Since I've been with Value Heavy, past 5, 6 months has been a very good experience for me overall. I've learned a lot, whether that's just from coaching people itself in regards to like, theory work or whatever the case may be, and just dealing with different people and just getting a better structure from day one since I started and just continuing on and just improving, how I coached and all that. Um, yeah, so we'll jump into it anyways, see how it goes. Yeah, pretty much that's all I have to say. Been a while since I played on stairs, but nice to see the software again. Nice to see the software again. So ace 9 will be opening the cutoff, but not when somebody opens. Queen 5 is going to fold as well. 7-2 folds, so jack 5 fold. Ace 3 we're going to fold, fold. Just folding here too. Probably shouldn't have the auto thing collected, but can't even defend this anyways versus the min open. Sixes were opening pre. We get the fold. King, queen, we're going to be opening here. Fives, we are not going to be three betting this time, but we can sometimes. It's going to start with a half pot here or something like that. Can go bigger too. I'll be over betting this turn though, although this guy's a fish, so I think like pot size is okay as well. I think if he still has like one pair of hands plus draw, he's just going to continue anyways. So I think betting here, and I don't think he's ever going to fold an ace either. Um, we'll be just over bet jamming on non-diamond rivers, I'd say, but yeah, I think sizings there are okay. Here we're going to go for a three bet with king queen. Get a call. Going to start off with a small bet here on this texture. Potentially double barrel, but when he just check raises, we're done with the hand. It's not really a spot I should be check raising that frequently on an ace high flop. I don't think so, anyways. Don't think it makes much sense to. This is overvaluing something. Folding here. 7-9, I don't think we defend versus 3x versus 2.5. We can start defending, I think. King Jack's going to fold. King 4 going to fold as well. Folding here. Tens are going to be three betting here if somebody opens. Doesn't happen. Folding here as well, not defending that. Ace 10 we will be playing. Jack's going to fold as well. Here. Get a call here, good board for our range overall. I think even with this combo, we can start betting probably on the bigger side, I think, for like 2/3. Just going to be doing a lot of big betting on this flop mostly, so I think ace 10 is kind of the cutoff point from, the bigger sizings. Ace 8, ace 9, probably start checking back there sometimes for deception. and protect our check and back range too. But mostly if we're going to see bet on that flop, I think a bigger one is better, I would say. So once start building money, building a pot as well with when you actually have hands and strong draws with backdoors and stuff like that, put pressure on a certain part of his range where he can't have the nuts where obviously we can. It's probably a board as well. We can bet bigger, pretty dynamic. Three quarters, two thirds, going to be fine. Either we're going to fold the 9-3 here. I don't think it's going to play that well multi-way here. Get a call. Still get value from a lot of worse hands here. So I don't mind betting here to just get value from worse hands and potentially just like equity denial as well. So I think like betting this is okay, even with this hand. We get the fold anyways, which is fine. I think tens is just going to be a pure call here. And going to be continuing against a 1/3, maybe start folding versus a half pot. Having the 10 of clubs here is the only justification here for calling. This is big blind versus under the gun, so I don't expect ranges here in general to be that out of line. So I'm just going to call fold here, facing aggression on the turn, even on this turn. And we have enough showdown value here. I'm not going to win all the time, but I don't see any point betting here itself. And going to be calling the river, probably betting if he checks. And if he bets, I'm not happy about it at all. Can't fold for this sizing, unfortunately, but does feel like King X of clubs with the club, I think, but we have to call for that sizing, and he just block bets jacks. Yeah, I mean, probably the same result, because if he checked, I bet myself. Um, so probably the same result there either way. Um, Jacks here, I think we can stab this turn. MP shouldn't really have 5x, button can have 5x, but that's about it. And I think Jacks has some value in this spot. Jack 6 are going to open, obviously. Maybe shouldn't have with this guy in the small blind, but it's going to be okay as well. We're just going to bet small in this flop. Just for some protection against like Queen Jack, King Queen, stuff like that. But when he pot donks, I'm just going to very happily fold there. Open the ace-3. And aces will be getting 3-bet, I think. Get a call. Going to be checking back aces on this flop for some pot control. Don't think we need to see bet this much. Just to avoid the scenario getting check raised and just put in as little money when this turn card comes out. Yeah, just gonna try and get this showdown now. Pretty bad run out for aces. Yeah, I just don't think we need to do anything else but just check this back. And we get called here. I'm gonna check back aces here specifically, I think. Can bet here also, but obviously in these positions this board is going to interact probably with the out of position player more. Will with my range too, but would rather bet like nines, tens, jacks here, and I think aces and kings can start checking back because I don't need that much protection. And I'm going to call a 1/3 here and probably just fold river, facing a big bet, maybe call against 1/3 again, but calling here on the river is going to be, or sorry, on the turn is fine. It's interesting river, obviously. I think we're going to bet fold here small, although it's pretty close. I expect if he had 9x here, he's just going to bet himself. So I think like block betting here is going to be okay. Maybe get some value from worse hands, which he does end up calling. And he had a set of sevens, which I think he should bet the river himself because, I still think he can get value from worse. This 150 big blind scenario with this stars caption is on at the moment. How do I turn this off again? We can continue playing anyways, I think. Probably just going to end up doing that, I think, because it's going to sit out again automatically. King 2, we're not going to come along here in this spot because playability post-flop multi-way isn't ideal. Opening sixes. Ace 6 is going to be an open. King 10 is going to be a very easy fold. I think in my ranges, I don't have them open obviously at the moment, but I think this is a 4-bet a reasonable amount of the time, and especially on a 9, we're going to 4-bet at this time. And obviously fold to a raise. Could be Ace 6 or Ace 8 in these positions, I can't remember exactly. Pretty good board for our range overall. Might be better to flat this when we're this deep, but I don't mind it either way. Probably going to be betting twice here, definitely, I would say. I misread the stack sizes. I probably should have just called this pre in hindsight, but whatever. We get the fold anyways, so it's nice. Yeah, again, just a very good board for our range overall. I definitely would be betting there twice, potentially even 3 times, but I think with the 6 blocker, it's not really relevant. If I had like Ace Queen, Ace Jack there, would be better to double barrel if potentially triple barrel in that spot, but we'll happily take the fold on the flop in that scenario. So another one pops up here, so that's fine. I think 3-6 we can defend here versus raise first in sizing. Would possibly start folding versus a 2.5, but it depends on the player type as well. On this turn, we're going to start over betting, I think, and we're going to do this with like a lot of flush draws, any 3x blocker, um, probably full houses as well, because his check and back range on the flop is going to be a lot of over pairs. And again, on this river, like in theory, he should have some checkbacks that should be some flush draws, but I don't think it happens enough in practice. So I'm just going to go for a pot size here and try and target some like over pairs with a diamond, which he just called with ace high. Yeah, ambitious to do that. Should be a very, very easy fold on the river. But yeah, again, it's kind of targeting the overpair scenario with a diamond that's going to call the river. And I still think overpairs may station off in that spot anyways. I mean, if this guy's calling ace high, he's like literally calling Everton. Literally calling Everton. And ace 5 is going to be a very easy fold. 7's going to open. Probably going to go for a bet here with 7s, with a spade especially. I think it's slightly bigger here is okay as well. King 7 is going to be a fold. Jack 8, we will be opening on the button. They folded around to us. Let's open another table there. Jack 8 is going to fold. Ace 9, we won't be defending versus the 2.5 from UTG. 5-8 suited, we can probably open in the small blind. It's probably on the cusp though of the borderline hands, but can't be that bad either way. Jack 2, we're going to defend versus a min open. Probably just check fold the flop. King 3, we're going to open in the cutoff. It folded around to us, but it doesn't. And again, we're just going to go for a check call line here. I think his range is very capped when he checks back this flop. And he goes for a big bet on the turn now, which is interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's repping here, except like a better Jack X. So I think we just have to station off on a non-spade run out, which is unfortunate. So now we're forced to fold here. Um, but I would have called on a non-spade river, I think. But now we can't call Anton here on this river. Yeah, can't do much about that. And we're going to three bet this on an eight in these positions. We got a call, and we're just going to start with a range bet here. Can mix in some checks here too, but I think I like small bet here in general. Got a call. Just got to be checking this turn mostly, and going to be checking back this king five for deception. And he bets on an eight, obviously calling down here without question. Here is very close, given we have the 10 of spades and we block jack 10 and ace 10. I do think we have to call one more here, but I'm not happy about it. I think here we can just go for a small bet on the river, target some nines, tens, maybe some ace jack of diamonds or something like that. This could be close to a fold on the turn, but we're definitely folding river if he bets again. And we just have a very, very easy fold. We get called here as well, so that's fine. Yeah, that queen 10 is really close on the turn because we're blocking a reasonable amount of his bluffs, especially with the 10 of spades. So I think like even exploit folding that in practice may be better in the long run, but check call and turn isn't going to be a big mistake either way, I don't think. For folding that, we're probably folding way too much. I think like under pairs, although they may be checking the flop at a reasonable frequency. Um, yeah, it's not the end of the world. Very easy fold here. Very easy fold here. It'll be 5-bet ripping this ace king if this guy decides to go for a 4-bet. Defending ace 8, and we are just going to put this in the middle. Don't expect these guys to have too many bluffs here. I haven't played 10 and nil quite so time, so I'm not really sure. But again, ace king just has to go in the middle here. And we get snapped by kings, but we're 70-30, so it's not the end of the world. Defending ace 8 here against a small bet. And we don't get there, so it's fine. And we're just going to be checking down the ace 8 here itself. And chopping, which is fine. Probably ace jack is the bottom here. Ace jack off in regards to squeezing. Might be low frequency, but yeah, probably not ideal to be squeezing king jack there in the small blind. Ace jack I think is more efficient. Ace queen we're obviously going to be three betting here. I get called. I think with the spade in our hand here we can justify betting here more frequently. I'm probably double barreling twice actually with the spade. Bit closer on this turn here. I think we want to check back here more, but like there shouldn't be that much 8x in his range here, but I think checking back is okay as well. Decent river. I fold the ace jack in that spot. I mean, we kind of have to call here, but again, far from happy about it. Having the queen of spades here makes the most sense to call. But again, I'm far from happy about it because his ace hits my range more than his. But yeah, just calling ace 8 itself, not an ideal spot. Not an ideal spot. I would fold there without the spade blocker, but again, I'm not sure how relevant that is on these games because the guy should be checking that river really high frequency with most of his range. I'm going to start with a half pot here in this spot. And again, this is just a board that we want to be betting quite big on. Again, we're going to use 2/3. You can use 3/4 as well, whatever your personal preference is. Fold. Not defending 2-5 off. I'll be defending ace-8 suited though, pretty happily. So go through 1/3 here. Don't think we want to have that much raises on these flops. Can maybe start raising like ace-jack here against this, because obviously he's going to be c-betting really, really wide here. So mixing in some check raises with like 5-6 of spades, 8-9 of spades, stuff like that with backdoors is going to make a lot of sense because of how wide he's going to be c-betting here. I just think he has a lot of give-ups here on this turn, but we're just going to start betting big anyways. But I expect to see a lot of check folds. Interesting check call. I think when he check calls here, he's actually going to have like a lot of ace-x here, I think, or something like that. So I think like overbetting this river where we're going to have maybe some queen jack and shit like that. And just some floats in general, because he bets so small on the flop that we can peel quite wide there. But I think when he check calls at 3/4 sizing on the turn, he's not exactly going to be calling too light there. So I don't mind going for a polarized sizing on the river there. It can't be that big of a mistake with two pair, obviously, as long as we find some bluffs there. Um, and I do think Queen Jack can fall into that category, just to attack a capped range mostly. Here again on this dryer text, we're just going to go for something like a half pot in these positions. Queen 4 we're not going to open. King Queen we will, and I think we're going to defend 4-7 suited versus the 2.5. Probably just going to be check calling on this flop, especially versus that sizing. King Queen we're probably going to be mixing in some 4 bets here, I would say. Depends what we roll. Gonna have to fold this on the turn now if this guy bets again, but the guy's just called 4-betting. Uh, I think we're just gonna have to check fold this river. Yeah. Like in a non-ace river, we're gonna check there and potentially maybe check raise as a bluff. But on an ace river, I don't think we can rep that much itself. I think we're just gonna be check folding this combo predominantly and not doing anything else with it. This checks through on the turn again. I may just like block bet on the river, represent some like weak ace X and some king X, but just can't really do anything there in that spot with it 5 or 6 high on a 3 spade flop when I have 2 clubs. Checking back ace king here, fall into a bet on the turn. Yeah, I just have to fold this one. Could bring argument there for not blocking diamonds where he could be stabbing that on the turn, but not a good board for our range in that position. We're just gonna fold. 8-9 will be opening in the small blind. And we're going to call 8s this time. Mixing 3-bet and call. Going to go for a check call here. We're just going to go for a check fold here. guess 2/3 here. I'm trying to think what I'd do if I had like two pair here, and I don't think I'd bet 2/3, but you know, I think exploited we just can here. Interesting river. I think he can have two pairs in his range as well. I'm not sure if block betting here is best. Maybe it is actually, and fold to a raise. Yeah, it's just you can. It's just maybe to avoid the scenario of checking and then like facing a big bet on the river. That would obviously be really shit. And I don't think people exploit them bets on the river enough with bluffs. So I would have been a very happy bet fold in that spot, I would say. King nine was going to fold, and 10-7 we're going to fold as well. Ten seven won't be defending. We are going to be defending King Queen here. Mostly going to be check calling for most of the streets. Could technically argue to check raise this because you rolled so low, but I don't really like doing it in these positions. Let's see what happens on later streets. So he goes for 2/3 size in here. Again, we're not blocking any 9-10, Jack 10. They're going to be the main bluffs here for his raise first in range. So I think calling here is the only option. And the thing is, in this spot, we are going to have a lot more 8x in our range here. So I don't expect him to bet this river this frequently. And if he does, it's going to be pretty goddamn annoying. And he does muck. There's the argument for donking that river too. It's a pretty ambitious double barrel by him with ace king. Doesn't doesn't make that much sense when you have a reasonable amount of showdown value. Um, don't even know if the flop is a c bet there, but probably is at some frequency. Ace king has a reasonable amount of showdown value mostly, so checking it back, there's not going to be a mistake. I think double barreling is a mistake on a 5. You know, there's still a lot of one pair hands I'm going to call there because I'm not blocking any of the 9-10 and Jack 10 that I mentioned. So he doesn't really have that much fold equity on the turn itself, unless I have, you know, maybe 8-10 or something like that. But I don't think I fold still. I think we have to call a lot of second pairs in that spot either way. That doesn't make sense to double barrel ace king mostly. C bet and flop is okay, I think, because you do have two overs in a backdoor straight draw. So I think that's fine, but I think double barrel in the turn doesn't make any sense at all. And just probably over C betting in them spots. Again, you just have so many better candidates to double barrel here, and just ace king just isn't one of them. So queen 8 here. I think we can just go for a 1/3, I think. Ace 10 on a 54. We are not going to 3-bet this time, I think. I'm not sure what the correct frequency is here, but I think folding this time is okay. And this guy donks on a 2, which doesn't make that much sense. Gonna raise to like 21 here. Make it a little bit bigger than 3x. So kings here, similar scenario. Checking back this flop is going to make a lot of sense because it doesn't need that much protection. And I am going to raise this to like 9 big blinds and see what happens. I think calling might be a bit weak in this spot. And if he three bets the turn here, we're obviously just like instant folding. We're just like putting pressure on like 5-6, 4-5, stuff like that. Um, River is close here. River is close here between a bet and a check because I'm not really sure what worse calls unless like it is like ace 10, jack 10, queen 10. Obviously we block king 10 and some 9-10 suited. So I think a bet fold here is fair enough. But like as I said, there is going to be some 6x in his range here. But I still think we can just bet fold this. And we do get called by jack 10, which is, more or less what we're kind of targeting there, 10x. Um, yeah, again, the sizing on the turn is just like we gotta just like punish that sizing, I think, for the most part. Where just calling and letting him realize his equity to the river and not like putting him in a shit spot there, like because he's going to do that with like 4-5, 5-6 stuff like that, where we want to charge the price for that part of his range by raising the turn. Yeah, we're just going to go for a small bet. Called. Mostly going to be checking back this turn, I think. And I am going to value bet this river, I'd say. Target some eights, some 9x, ace 9 suited or something like that, and then like some maybe tens. As I think if he has like king x here, he's just going to bet himself anyways. So I like this bet on the river here. Try and get some value from like 9x, and if he raises, we're just going to fold. But yeah, as I said, just targeting that range that Jacks is just good there, like all the time. So there's no point checking back there, like because we're going to have pocket sevens, pocket eights that wants to check back there more frequently. Whereas Jacks can still be ahead of the check call range on the flop, where we can justify value betting that river without any hesitation. I think the 2/3 sizing is the only sizing there really because maybe you can justify half pot as well, but 2/3, 3/4 there is going to be what I think is the most appropriate sizing. It's just like not being afraid to value bet as well there, like, and just understanding like there is worse hands that can call you, and like if that is the case, then you really need to target that range with the correct sizing. Anyone that I coach, I always say that to them that if you can get a value bet in here, you should always value bet without question. It's just a matter of you knowing what the range looks like in the specific spot that you're in, whether that's a single raise pot, three bet pot, four bet pot, etc. And obviously that comes with experience. But as I said, it's just very, very important to like not be afraid to value bet ever. Um, and on top of that, it's just like people don't like find enough bluff raises against like certain sizing schemes that you can use. Like again, just going back to that Jack's hand, me betting 2/3 down the river. If he check raises all in, what bluffs can he have there? Absolutely zero. So it's an easy fold. But there is worse hands that can call. So if we value bet sometimes and we're wrong or we get raised, it's not a big mistake. It's not a big mistake at all, and it shouldn't hurt your confidence because it is going to happen sometimes, but you're going to make back that money when they do call. So, it's just don't be afraid to value bet thin in a lot of spots. But as I said, the most important thing is understanding the actual range itself of where you are in the hand and what it looks like, given the line on the turn on the river, or sorry, yeah, on the flop on the turn on the river. Ace 10, we're just going to fold here, and King 5, we are just going to be check folding as well. Really bad combo. And yeah, size he uses is just very easy fold. Fives, I'm not going to open UTG. It's like sixes plus is what I do as a default. And very easy get in here. So what are we talking? Like 23 here seems good. 23 here seems good. Just will be calling this ace king suited. Ace king off here in this position is actually mixed between call and fold because like predominantly the only 5 bet range there is like you know, kings, aces, ace, king for the most part. Then probably some low frequency queens. I think queens are like full frequency in a lot of games. So, you know, I suppose ace king suited there just has a slight better, all in equity scenario, but like you're talking very, very little to be fair. I suppose a suited playability, given the post flop scenario, could just be better to just stack off at that one. But the ace king off one is literally mixing fold and call versus the 5-bet MP versus uh, UTG spot like that. Checking here on this board and just check folding. Can't do anything else there with this combo. I'm not sure what the exact frequency is of this, but I'm going to three bet it this time. See what happens. Yeah, I know it's like could be a higher frequency call. I forget the exact frequency for BB versus UTG, or sorry, BB versus button. This ace eight can be checked behind. I think I'm going to check it behind this time. Um, See what happens on the turn. And if this guy starts betting, we're going to have to call. I mean, there's argument for raising here, but I think I'm just going to call and check the river. Yeah, Queen 10. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I don't think I would have called. Well, I probably would have called a bet on the river. I'm not going to isolate this guy because of his stack size. But this guy in the big blind doesn't mind doing it. But it's fine. Like ace 10 is like close. Ace 10 suited, I do no problem. But like I do ace 10 off here against the guy who's sitting with 100 big blinds. But in this spot, we just don't need to. Don't really feel too keen on it. Don't really feel too keen on it against that stack size because if he limp jams, then it's a bit shit. Whereas like if we had like ace jack suited there and he limp jams, we're probably forced to call. But again, we're probably not in great shape either way in that specific spot. I don't think. Jack 10 is going to be a fold. King 7 is going to be a fold. King 9 we're going to open. King 6 suited we are going to defend, but we're not going to now versus the 3-bet. Five, 4 of hearts we're going to be opening. Not sure why my stars caption didn't do that. I'll just do them in open, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. Get a call here, and again, this 4x needs protection here, so just going to go for a half pot on this dryer texture again. For the most part. Calling a raise if he decides to go for it with the backdoors and outs to improve on the turn on a 4 and a 5. Do get check raised, and I like his sizing. Obviously, we have an easy defend, like I mentioned. Very easy defend. Probably just going to be folding on this turn now, though. He goes for a check here. I think there's potentially better hands to start block betting this turn with, and I don't know is 4x one of them, so I'm going to check this back. And I don't expect him to ever bluff this river here ever. So I'm just going to try and take this showdown. And I actually don't mind his raise because you can actually get some folds there in that spot. But it's a little bit close. If I'm c-betting really wide there, then it's obviously a good play. But no harm for protection at all there, I don't think. Queens, we're just going to start with a small bet. Fold. yeah, so I'm probably gonna do like 20 more minutes, guys. So we'll do an hour video for the finale. For the finale, I think we're usually like 40, 45 minutes previously anyway, so we'll do an extra 15 minutes for the last video for value heavy. Opening the 10 queen here, queen 10, same on this table. Um, it's a spot where I will size up a little bit more with this specific combo with the heart and the backdoor straight draw, one over, stuff like that. So weather texture, more dynamic, decent combo as I mentioned, but we're just going to be checking back on this turn now, unfortunately. But always nice to river the top pair. This is a river I'm going to bet, but bet fold because there's still some Jack X in his range here. There shouldn't be that much Jack 2, Jack 4, Jack 5 in his range. And I also expect him to value bet that himself anyway. So I think just betting 2 thirds here on the river is going to be good. And we get paid off by Jack, King Jack, which is fine. And the best part about using this bigger sizing is that if we use a 1/3 size and this guy might actually start check raising and we don't get to realize our equity in this spot. But the fact that we bet bigger, they're supposed to just check raise less frequently. Now this is still a more than reasonable check raise candidate. Um, but check calling with this one is going to be absolutely fine too. Uh, but as I said, when we don't turn the equity, we're just going to give up. But this flop size will make sense with that combo, I think, in my opinion. And very easy fold here versus that, obviously. 10-8, we're going to open. Twos, we're not going to. Folding here. We're going to call this time. Three betting is absolutely fine as well, but I don't think I rolled it. We're going to be check calling this flop. Don't think we need to check raise versus this sizing, but there's obviously argument for us given we have more twos and threes, but I don't think it's going to be doing it that much. So I think check calling makes the most sense, and now we're just not going to be folding on any run out. And this half pot sizing here is weak as well. I think if these guys actually have a hand, fishy guys, whatever, or recreationals, whatever the case may be, I just expect him to pile money in here, so we're just going to try and let him bluff it off if he has it. We're just not going to be folding the river ever here. Yeah, we just have an easy call here, just without question. And he has the bluff. Again, with his sizing on the turn there, I think even calling Jack X on the river here makes a lot of sense. Um, as I said, I just think if he has King X or like aces or kings or whatever the case may be, I just expect him to size up on the turn. So when he goes like half pot on the flop, half pot on the turn, it's like, what value can he really have there? So I think like bluff catching like Jack X there makes a lot of sense, but I think Jack X really has to be the threshold versus them sizing schemes. I mean, obviously we have an easy call with King X, but the thought process is still valid in regards to like calling Jack X, for example. Um, because I don't think we arrived to the river with like anything less really than Jack X, I suppose. Yeah, because like I don't think pocket pairs like fives through nines or tens are going to call this turn. Calling the 10-7 here. I think like block betting this turn or checking makes sense here too. I think I'm just going to go for a block bet here, like super, super small, exploitatively, and fold to a raise. Like check calling is fine as well with this specific combo. I think in theory it's going to be mostly a check on the turn. But like when people are just checking back a really, really weak range, like even the 25% turn bet is going to be absolutely fine. Um, I think checking back this time is going to be good. And now we're just going to start betting big here. 3/4, 2 thirds, whatever the case may be. I think King Queen is being squeezed here sometimes, but not in a 70. It's probably close anyways because I'm not three betting that as a default small blind versus MP. So Squeezing it may be questionable. Again, I don't have my ranges here, so I'm not exactly sure what's a squeeze and what's not. But I think it's low frequency either way. And a6, we're not going to be three betting. And again, this is just going to be a spot for a bigger bet, I would say. And probably doing a lot of over betting on a reasonable amount of turns. Blank-ish turns. Get the fold here, so that's nice. Not going to be opening this. We're not going to open that. Open the king jack. I think this is mostly a three bet here anyways. So we're going to three bet it. I get the fold, so it's nice. That like would be a five bet jam in a balanced world. That small blind is four betting enough. Ace four and ace five, I think, are just like pure five bet jams as a bluff. But I just don't think that's a viable strategy on 10 and L, where I just don't think they're going to be four betting enough from the small blind as bluffs. Again, similar spot here. Betting bigger makes a lot of sense. We don't block any ace X, and we don't block any spades, and we don't block any jack 10 or queen 10. So we're not really blocking a lot of the continuing range, so we're just going to be folding here. This king is going to be a very easy open. 4-2 won't be defending versus a 3x. We get 4 bet here. Obviously going to be 4 bet getting, sorry, 3 bet. We're going to be 4 bet getting it in without question. Without question. Folding the 2-9. We get the fold, so that's nice. Obviously going to have a lot of bluffs there as well, like king queen, king jack, ace 10, ace 5, ace jack as well as mixing. 4 bet and call. 7-5 here, folding. Ace 5 is going to be a fold. Called here, and we're just going to start with a really small bet here with probably majority of our range, I would say. And folding. So I think exploitatively on this turn, we are going to double barrel and just give up if we get called. He's going to have a lot of like, we block ace highs, but he's just going to have a lot of folds in this turn when he's just like check calling versus a quarter size. So I'm doing this exploitatively because of how good this king is for our range mostly. If I'm c-betting like whatever 5 high, 6 high there and it comes a king turn or an ace turn, I'm probably double barreling it as well because of how good it is for our range and giving his check call on the flop when, he's obviously super, super weak, I would say, calling 25% on the flop, that we just kind of have to double barrel at really high frequency on the turn. Folding here, an easy fold here with the ace queen. King out will be opening, but we're not going to this time because we got open in the cutoff. 5-0 is going to be folding. 2 just going to be folding, and king queen we are going to be 3 betting from the small blind against the button. We get a call. Probably going to be a 3-street hand and a lot of runouts here. So we're going to start with a 1/3. Going to start with a 1/3. And we're going to defend the Jack 9 here. Mix in some check raises on this flop. We'll see what size he goes. And we are just forced to fold versus this size, unfortunately. Again, I think this is just going to be. I think with King Queen, we just stay betting here. I think it's just going to be the plan. I think like King 10 and King Jack, we can probably start mixing in some checks there. But that's about it, I think. So we are going to have some give ups on the turn there, but King Queen I think is just going to fall into the category of double barreling and probably triple barreling on probably non-heart rivers, I would say. Although we had the Queen of Hearts, so maybe we can justify triple barreling as well. But I mean, I expect people to fast play more effectively in them spots where if they have value. I think this 10-8 wants to check back here because if we bet and get raised, we really, really don't like life. And we're going to realize our equity by the river with this hand. Now, do I start betting here for protection? Probably not. But there's argument for it, but I think checking back is okay too. And now we're just going to value bet here because I expect this guy to pretty much bet any of his value here on the river and not have any traps in this spot. I mean, he would have got a lot more on the river if he decided to bet himself. There's strong argument for check raising that King 10 on the river for value too, I would say, but like you're not going to get called by that much worse, but some people may level themselves into calling. Queen 6 here is just going to be a pure call. And we're just forced to call one here against this size and against bigger sizes, like literally any bigger size. And I think we should be folding, but we're forced to call against that sizing. I guess we check back this turn. If he checks done now, we are going to turn this into a bluff, I think, and represent some 7x. I'm not sure how good this is, but I don't think we have a choice here in this regard. He may call with some ace highs here, he may call with some pocket pairs, but I think we have to turn this into a bluff because we are going to have 7x there a lot. We definitely don't have Jack X because we check back the turn, where we obviously want to be betting that for value. But 7x we could definitely have on that spot where, you know, we need some protection there. Or sorry, not protection, but just checking it back makes a lot of sense. 7x itself. So I think turning that into a bluff, which we just don't have any showdown at that point. And just hoping to win against ace high here. I don't think we have to call this. Don't think we have to call this. We're going to go for a check here. And he bets pot, which is quite interesting. I'm going to call here, and then if we face another bet on the turn, just check jam it. You know, if pocket tens he shouldn't really have here. Pocket twos he can have, and pocket sevens, but I think we're just going to go for a check call now. And he just goes pot again. I think we're just going to check call here again. And just like, obviously let him do his thing here. 7x is really irrelevant overall here. Like, again, it's actually just less combos of pocket sevens here now, so I am going to call this river. You know, obviously he's just bluffing there. Probably had the king of spades, or yeah, it's just like really overplaying queen 10 here, which doesn't make any sense. But I think first in pot size, we just want to let him do his thing. If he's bluffing with the ace of spades or the king of spades, we just want to let him do his thing. I would say. Do think we want to ISO this. And it's a pretty good board for our range overall. So it's going to start with a small bet and barrel turns and give up on rivers, I'd say. Not going to barrel this turn though. Not going to barrel this turn. Going to bet this river now though. He's like snap check back as well, so I don't expect him ever to have like hearts here, or I just expect like probably 7x or some pocket pairs maybe, or maybe ace x as well. I think ace x makes a lot of sense, and he's king jack too. That's whatever. Just folding here. Surprise just well, I suppose it's justifiable just to flat the river bet in that spot. Here we're going to go for a check call against their normal size and against bigger size. I'm just going to start folding, and very easy check call here, and very easy check fold. Going to fold queen nine this time. It's mixing calls and folds against the twos that sizing. And again, just going to try and take this showdown. I don't expect to win that often, but we do beat some hands, but very, very little. But again, I just don't think we need to ever turn this into a bluff. And now we're just going to fold, unfortunately. Not going to be too annoyed over that one. Uh, Folding is 8. And folding this here too. Just going to be checking this multi-way. Probably be doing a lot of checking here. Betting quite polar, I think, in this spot. King 6 just going to fold. Going to check call 1 here. If I had like king 8 of diamonds, I'd check fold, but given we had the backdoor flush draw as well, I think we have to call 1. And just going to be check folding the turn. And very easy check fold. So king jack here and a king 9 8. You know, again, in position, or sorry, out of position, is going to have pocket 8s, pocket 9s here, but still a board we want to be range betting here pretty much, I would say, for a small sizing. Can check this back sometimes as well. I think it makes a lot of sense. But we are going to be double barreling here and probably checking back a lot of rivers because King Jack still needs some protection here. If he has like Queen 10 of spades, Jack 10 of spades, still get potentially some value from Ace 9. And we don't lose that many worse King X except like King Queen. So we'll see what happens. I think I want to call this, um, but it's really close. Like pocket 8s and pocket 9s, I think, are supposed to check raise the flop a reasonable amount. So this is I think going to be a call, not having any spade blockers here. But it may be a bad call on these games. But I think I'm not sure if he plays pocket 8s or pocket 9s this way. 8 9 he can maybe play this way, but I think they're just going to be a higher check raise frequency on the flop. So I think I'm just going to call here. Can lose to king queen here sometimes too, but yeah, it's whatever. I'm not upset over that. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I think it's finally played by both. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to be upset over that spot. Not going to be upset in that spot at all. Jack 8, we're just going to fold. Queen 10 here. I don't think it is in that spot. And we're obviously going to open this. We're just going to have so many other folds there as well when you think about it, like that fold on King X there. Like having a Jack probably isn't ideal as well, blocking some Jack 10, but as I said, not blocking spades, they're somewhat relevant too. And if he plays value like that, then nice hand by him. Basically, I'm not folding that spot really ever. I don't think. And we just have an easy fold here. So I'm going to sit out next big blind, and we're going to wrap up the video. Hopefully we get an interesting spot by the end of it. If we don't, what do we do? Yeah, just going to be c-betting this board because of how good it is for our range overall. And probably doing a lot of overbetting. So we get a weird spot here where this guy raises. So we're just going to call. Don't expect him to do too much raising with Queen X. And I think we just have an easy bet fold on this river. Bit of a weird thing for him to do on the flop, but yeah, just going to go for a bet here. And easy fold, my friend. Very easy fold in that spot. All right, guys. So again, just want to briefly say thanks to Value Heavy and yeah, the experience I've had with them. Peter, you know, good guy, helped me out a lot, and you know, won't forget it basically. And again, just the students I coached, obviously going to be finishing up and won't be working with them in the future, unfortunately. But yeah, it's been a great experience, and yeah, I've learned a lot from it itself. So grateful for it, very very grateful, and yeah, maybe in future I could be back. Who knows? But thanks for everything again. So yeah, take care.